There be light, and there was light. Of course, we are talking about the said God, the said God of Genesis chapter 1. Of course, the said God is the God of creation and the God of now. I am talking about the waters. I'm talking about Mother Eve. I'm talking about when I say Mother Eve, because there were many Eves. So the story of Adam and Eve in the garden and so on, I believe it has been something more like the serpent was Eve's mother. In this case, we could say, was having a dialogue with Eve and saying, "Oh, have God told you?" Because there were other gods. There was the God of calling, the God who made, the God who saw, the God who formed, the God who planted, and perhaps it was the God who planted as well would have been so particular about the tree in the garden, and have God have said. And that's another thing. Of course, it sounds like it might have been the God who planted, because when you plant something, you just don't want people just, just ripping your fruits off your tree before it's ready, and God knows, well, God knows. Okay, all right. So, but there it was that the serpent, of course, the serpent said to God, to Eve rather, God said, "You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree of good and evil," or whatever it is, or knowledge rather. And yes, of course, if God said, "You shall not eat of the fruit." Now this is the dialogue. God, she's not saying, and God have said that I should not eat of the fruit. Basically, these words, you've been perhaps directly being phrased indirect to whatever words that she had knew, but it could also be something like saying, "Oh well, yeah, but God said if you eat of the fruit." It could have been something like saying, well, it could, to the serpent, God might have said, "If you eat of the fruit, you shall surely die." Well, of course, but all of that could not have been possible, because the serpent, of course, was the one who was the wisest of all creatures, the God who knew all things, the God who was there, who was letting the business to the other gods. As I say, the business of who's going to till the garden, and who's going to have the sheep, and who's going to see about the grass and the birds. And, that was the business of creation. And that's when, after that, Mother Eve was referred to as Lord God, because she was the Lord then. If we look at, as I say, if we look at the structures of, or British, particularly, or British culture, or words, or constructs and structures, we will see very well that everything had been done from that book of King James Version of the Holy Bible. So this is where the word Lord, we see we have lords, and lords are people that you are accountable to. They're the ones who collect the monies and whatever it is, or have the title deeds of whatever. I don't know the exact all the responsibilities, but going by what I saw when I googled the meaning for lords, they really are people, you collect the collectors, they're collectors, okay, of monies. Okay, now so far, what we have done is really look at the acts of the gods in Genesis of chapter 1. We are not going much further until we really get to the crux of all these gods in Genesis. So we have looked at the 9 gods. We have 9 gods in Genesis of chapter 1 and 5 gods in Genesis of chapter 2. And we see that the 9 gods, of course, we could say or see or attribute them to the planets, and of course the 5 gods would be the gods of our senses. That's one way of looking at them as well, the gods of our 5 senses. Okay, So we looked at the different as we say, the different gods. What I did do, or just give me one moment, let's just see if I can get something. I just want to pull some info on here, just to see if I had. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, it's fine. All right, sorry about that. So basically, we have looked at the first three segments of those entries, meaning there are 9 entries on Genesis of chapter 1, where we have the different gods. Oh, there is another thing I hadn't done altogether, to count how many gods were active in those first 9 first 9 acts, the acts of God. We are calling these the acts of the gods. The acts of the gods, but we are concentrating on Mother Eve first. But what we have seen is that Mother Eve is there 3 times. So hair, and hair. So it was on 2, the 2, which is the 2nd, the 7th, and the 9th. 7, 8, no, this is the 6th and the 9th entries of Genesis of chapter 1. So, and we added those numbers together, and that was 17. Of course, 1 plus 7 is 8. So we have seen how 8 is really. So when we read in Genesis of chapter 1 and verse 17, and we actually see, and God set. Here we say, and God set. And the word set, of course, equals 8 as well. And 17, the verse 17 equals 8. And we see that there in that setting, we would think that's where everything was tied together. But no, we can see from the acts of Mother Eve herself, there was the setting. Everything was already set with Mother Eve. Although we are talking about the waters, which is number 23, 2 plus 3 is 5, but we see even in that, Mother Eve had set. So basically, in that movement of the waters, which is 23, and the word set, we see is 8, because that is 3. We have checked here. Those 3 entries, we added them together because that's what we are given the Spirit to multiply, to move, to create, and so on. And that's how we are using that template or that gift that we have been given to understand our makeup. So now what we have got to also pay attention to, and by the way, I have done the first part of this presentation, which is the acts of the gods. Set of the gods. Okay, all right, and something to that effect, but it's very close. And we could see already that on this template, which is where Mother Eve is calling us to come to. So we are talking about the waters. Waters is words. This is why in the scriptures or in the New Testament, it is said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and so on. So meaning what was and still is, it has always been. So we are talking about the Word. The Word is really waters. When we do the numerical value for the word, it's actually 6. I believe it's 6. If it's not 6, it's 9, but it's really one and the same. And there we see the mouth, of course, is words. Like the waters have current, and so words also have this current, and it also flows. So this is why they say, oh, the words just flow or roll or the tip of your tongue. So we are talking about words is really waters. Everything is in word form. And there we see the 8. right here, this is where the words are set on the tongue. We could say that as well. There, I have done the numerical value for the word tongue is actually 10. And when we do the numerical value, I think for the word 8, sorry, 10 is 3. So we have done it in a way to really show how it comes into the mouth as well. Apart from when Eve ate of the fruit, the word ate equals 8, or the word eat equals 8. Or this is where someone would say, oh, you eat your words, you better eat that, you know, take that back, you know, you eat your words, or whatever it is. So the word is there, the eat is there as well. So we can see 5, the mouth is 5, and of course we have the fruit, which is eat or eaten, has been ate right there. So these are this correlate. We can see this act here is not something that had happened, that had just happened, like in the part where we hear about the story of Adam and Eve, or Eve had eaten or ate of the fruit. No, we see that is happening right here in the first few verses of the Bible, right there where Eve ate of the fruit. It had happened right there. So it is in the word, it is in the word when Mother Eve said, when she said, by the time she said 3 times, whatever it is, she said, let there be light. Of course, that was, and let the waters, she was talking about, and let the firmament. So those 3 things, so light and firmament and waters, had been spoken in those lets. So, and of course, the firmament was part of setting as well. So we can see how number 17, and as we see the word 17 also equals God, comes right there. It's and the number 17, of course, as I say, equals 8. So basically, that is really a wonderful thing here. Now back to what I wanted to see, how many different gods actually participated. I'm thinking, I haven't counted them, but I'm thinking perhaps 5, but it probably is much more. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 gods. So it's the God of movement, and God moved. So it's 1, God said, God saw, God divided, God called. And then, of course, we have God made. Okay, so God made the great lights. Okay, and I have to check how that God made really transpired there as well. If it was, and God made, yes. Okay, so that would be 6. And this is where we are told that we are the number, 6 again is the number of man. So, as I have said before as well, that this is where we also got to find out that that was a, well, intuitively, and plus, of course, asking Mother Eve asking Mother Eve, well, more information on this, and seeing with number 6 and how the numbers have played out. Mother Eve is really saying that we are the number of 6 because we are the result of an experiment of 6 different women. Now, one of the things that I hadn't understood as well, that Mother Eve had been saying that the Eves, so there were 14 Eves, and I was trying to make sense of out of all this, meaning that the 14 Eves they were goddesses, they were the goddesses. So I, again, because I have been programmed a certain way, thinking about these experiments and everything else, I'm thinking, oh, well, they must have been male, because that's what, there is a degree of that resonance of that kind of thinking still lurking around in my mind. But yeah, they were all Eves, and only last night, or in fact it was today, I was listening to Dr. Albert Blair, Dr. Delbert Blair, who was saying, and through the research was also saying his research, and I'm making reference to him because I haven't researched it myself, but there were all women. Women were able to conceive women, and of course through the series of his findings as well, that women were more likely to conceive women. So basically, there was the land of the women, because they didn't need men to conceive or to have other female, and that's why, of course, then afterwards, well, there's the other theory about women must have mate with some kind of animal or some kind of other species of some other kind of world, and men came about. Okay, so that was what Dr. Blair said, that part of it. Yeah, okay. So we have 6. So in the first 9 acts, so we can see how 9 as well. So that's what I did a while ago with the other presentation, is that we saw that not only we have 9 entries, we see that we have 6 different gods had taken part in these 9 entries, and in these 6 different gods, we see that the number 9 and the number 6 is really coinciding beautifully, because when we do the numerical value for the word 9, it does come to 6. So I think this is really delicious right here. Okay, we are talking about delicious. Deliciousness, it's the meal and the understanding, we call it bread, and the digesting of the essence of the understanding, we call it wine. Yes, because we are talking about a supper, not the last supper, but a supper, a meal. Okay, now so I thought that was quite useful. Now another thing I'm going to do is really check the it may seem insignificant, but I don't think it's insignificant with King James Version of the Bible. It's how many letters to each of these words. I can already see that we have 3 for saw, 4 for said, and 5 for moved. Yes, so 3, 4, 5 here, and 5. There we have 6, and 6. Then we have let's see if we have 7 here. 2, 4, 6, and 1, 7. That is nothing by chance. This is really something. This is really something. So each word, so we have the word here. So this is made of 3 words, 3 letters, 3 letters. This is 4 letters, this is 5, and this is 6, and this is 7. Of course, this is 4 as well, made. So made, of course, would have 2 4s to make it 8, because that's where Adam and Eve. So, this is all making sense here, because then the said God here is Eve, and as I said in my other presentation, the made God is Adam, and he's 4 as well. So 4 plus 4 is 8. We can see that there is something happening there. Then as well we have, of course, 2 calls here, the 3 6s here. 6 plus 6 is 12. We can see where the zodiac signs would have been present there as well. So 12 zodiac signs, 12 months of the year, here 12 hours in the day, and so on. Now we have just 1 3, and of course, as I say, the 3 is W, that W. We have no, we also have made. We have, because we have said. Let's look at this now. If we were to multiply, we have said in 4 places, 3 places, which is here as well. So there would be 3 4s, again 12. So this 12, of course, would be 12 plus 12 would be 24. So 3 4s, 12. Then we have 2 6s, which is called and called. So 2 6s, of course, is also 12. And then we have, well, we have another 4 here, but we were looking at the 4 as in the said. I wanted to keep said separate, but let's say 4 4s are 16. Okay, another 4. So that would be 4 4 16. That would be number 7 when we do the numerical value for that. Okay, 16, 4 4 16. Okay, let's I'll just break it down as 1 times 4 again. All right, and so we have really done this, and there's just 1 7. Now we have seen how there could be just 1 7 too, because 7, when we do the numerical value for the word 1, it actually equals, there we have 5 5 5, because 7 is really 1. This is 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. That's what we are talking about. Now, of course, if we did add again to see how the 2 7s, because we were talking about the gods as well, how 2 7s would transpire in this in these words as well, is adding. What we would need to do is really add all these 4s together. So 4 letters. We have this in 3 of the said plus made. That would be 4 4s are 16. Again, 1 plus 6 equals 7. Okay, and we have 1 5. Just 1 5, of course. Again, 5 is the said God right there. We have okay, the 2 6s would be the word which equals the said God too. Okay, so there is a lot of information transpiring right there in Genesis, because basically Genesis of chapter 1, basically we have just been reading the story and not really dissecting the wording and the numerical construct of those words, and to see what messages they give us. This is what we are doing here on Crime Queen's channel. So basically, like we could say, when we see the number 7, people say, oh yeah, well, 7 is the sacred number, it is whole, it is complete, and so on. But we don't quite understand, apart from saying, well, it is the 6th day of creation and the day of rest. We can see it in numerical form as well, why it is so. And we could then, it gives us an understanding that it consists of 3 letters. Again, the number 3 really equals 10, and actually 10 is 1. So there we see how 1 and 7 is really one and the same. So 1 is not only it doesn't only transpire in this form, but it also transpire in the same wording as the first word of the said God when Mother Eve says let. When Mother Eve says let, L-E-T, which is 3, 5, 2, of course, adding this together, that gives us 10. Of course, 10 is 1. So there we see let and 1 is really one and the same. So basically, 1 is 7. 7 is 1. Okay, so I hope you get this. And really, and then, because this is why now we are moving into a 7-year cycle, so that would also coincide with 1. It's like we are starting the cycle over again. Now here we could say that 1 also equals 8 in essence, because it's a set. It's a set of 7. Okay, whenever we are talking about set, the set of anything, we are talking about 1 as 1 unit of whatever is. And there, in that sense, of course, 1 we could say is whole. So we have spoken about there we can do this actually. So you can see the 1, we have seen 1 is 7. We have seen 7 is actually 20. Let's just do this. This is 1, 5, 4, 5, 5. So adding this together, that is 20. Now, when we do the numerical value for the word 20, let's just do it this way. There's another way, a quicker way of doing this. This is 2, 5, 5, 5, 2, 7, of course. 3 5s, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 26. This gives us 26. We can add these now together. 2 plus 6 is 8. So we can see how 1 is showing us, 1 in itself is showing us that that symbol of 8 is really 1. This is 1 cycle right there. I'm going to leave this on here, on this here, and just to conclude and wrap this up, is to really say that, of course, we see that we had 6, and again the word 6 will, of course, 6 right here is 1 plus 9 plus 6. Adding this together, this is 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. So that's what we are talking. This is one, all this is one creation that happened here. This is the 7th day of creation where and this happened. So basically creation had happened in the movement. Everything, once it had moved, and God said, and God saw, and God divided, God called, and God saw again. God said, the said God was showed up 3 times there. God made, because of course God was the one, meaning Mother Eve was the one who said, let there be light. Once Mother Eve spoke, everything else had followed. Everything else followed, because there was light. By saying let there be light, also let us know that there was darkness, or the light came out of the darkness, or movement came from the waters. So all of those things meant that Mother Eve was very present in all of those things, even if not directly, but Mother Eve was there. Okay, so as we say, 7, of course, we saw that we have 6 different gods had taken place, had acted here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different gods acted here. Now, there's another thing. So basically that this five acts had happened. On the 5th act, Mother Eve showed up on the 5th act again. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 6th act, sorry, and then the 7th. So there's completion. We see here completion of the number on 6 really happened or reflected on Mother Eve 2nd act. And then, of course, because 6 is 7, so there's that 7 completion that happened. And of course, then God made. So we can see that there were cycles on top of cycles in that creation as well. So it's not just even where we see that there was something different happen when God made man in his own image and after his own likeness, but there was a lot of things that happened. Basically, Mother Eve in her word had the seed of everything. In the waters was everything. All life came from the waters right there. Okay, so do join me again as we continue to explore this, the acts of the gods. Okay, so this is acts of the god, and BBB will be at the end of this one, and the other one would be the A's, and so on, because I use the letters as as in form of numbers as well. Okay, and of course, yes, so there's where Mother Eve really wants us to remember. This is important as well. Mother Eve wants us to remember that this 8 is where she is taking us to. We are ending this cycle. we are ending this one cycle, which is 7,000 years. We are ending this cycle and we are moving into a new cycle. There's a 700 or seven, sorry, so the seven for the 7 years. There's a cycle. As I say, there are cycles on top of cycles, but Mother Eve wants us to pay attention to this, getting ready for this 7 cycle, okay, or 7 year cycle. And this 7 year cycle is due to begin on 15th May. I know this, 15th May 1959. I am getting excited about this. What chance would there be that something so phenomenal would be happening on my birthday, and I'm doing presentations on the very same thing that really pertains to my evolution, we could say. So on the 15th of May 2018 of this year, this is where we begin the new cycle, the new 7 year cycle. So basically this is where Uranus enters the house, the second house of the zodiac sign, which is Taurus. This is my house, and basically I have to make sure that my house is very clean and in order before I have this guest. This is really magical, very magical indeed. So, and I'm hoping, of course, if you are as well a Taurian or even Earth sign, everybody, I think it's everybody, but more so if it's moving into all house or Earth signs, definitely we are responsible for putting things in order. Okay, so do join me again, and of course when we explore the acts of the gods of Genesis. Yes, of course. Thank you for watching, and please like, share and subscribe, and oh yeah, I like to remind people that we need to be mindful that we are the land when we say we are planting new seeds, and the words are the words that they have seeds. Every word have a seed in it, which is what Mother Eve did when she spoke, that things just rippled out, you know. This is where we are today. We can see so much is happening through words that were spoken. So we are speaking words into ourselves, and let us be mindful of the quality of the words that we speak into ourselves, because of course we want to be entering into this new house in a new state. Okay, thank you, and spill over with love.